There's time I thought we'd review the troughs again that we looked at not long ago, because how they've sort of changed. The seasonal interest, even in a small trough, can be good. This one now, all these orchids, dactylorizas, self-seeded in amongst the, we've got Primula marginata, flowered earlier. Dianthus alpinus, I've been disappointed, I just cannot work out the way to get this to flower properly. Coming through this, you can see some of the little oxalis. The Erinus alpinus rock trough is still looking nice, although the flowers will be off soon. And the little minis, I mean, really still looking good. You can see how they establish, and this one with the cascading flowers. But some of these real little minis that planted up just a year or 2 years back, was it these ones? They're looking good and starting to show signs of establishment. So there's the wee ones. The trough with the white silver sacks and the wee orchids. The sacks has gone over. I'll decide now whether how much of that I want to seed, and I'll maybe take some of those off so we can see the wee orchids more clearly. Up to the big trough. I spoke earlier saying that we really need to do a lot of reworking in this one, but because it was looking very bare earlier on. Now it's clothing, and I'm in doubt of how much reworking it needs. This end, the Cyananthus lobatus, is actually coming down, and a problem I'll need to, I've already trimmed that off the troughs once, and I'll trim it back again. So this is Cyananthus lobatus, bigger. I do wonder if I won't just lift this and split it and put a smaller bit back. Perhaps more suited to the trough is this smaller leafed one here, Cyananthus microphyllus. But this area that was looking quite bare and barren earlier, and there is now some good growth, some interesting plants. Oh dear, look. When you see a snail doing that, it's laying eggs. I'm going to pull it out, and what it's going to do is go down. I'll bet you that it's trying to go down there and lay eggs down in there. Anyhow, that can be dealt with later. But what I think I'll do with this trough is get some early spring interest. I think small bulbs, some of the crocus and narcissus that will flower early, and then and maybe even some of the dwarf corydalis, they'll go over by now. Because there's lots of interest to come. A wee Japanese hypericum, the Himalayan Hypericum reptans. The Geum pulvinaris has already flowered. So have the saxes. So there's a lot more to come. Orchids in the troughs. And the other trough that I always hate in the winter, I just really love this, having just come back from Golspie. Seeing plants in the wild, this is probably as near as I've got to something that looks quite wild. Just the way the plants all intermix, the fern, the wee grass, dactylorizas. It's just such a lovely little planted trough, and most of it planted itself. Spring trough, this one had the saxes in the spring, then the Edrianthus. I need to do something here. Up at this end, we've got the same little Japanese Hypericum. Planted a little Daphne here, but not much going on up at this end. We've got this moss coming through, and rather than fighting it, I'm trying to think of a way to capitalise on it and work with it. Another one of these, good heavens, it's obviously the time. We've had a lot of moisture recently, and these snails are just becoming a big problem. Not that they aren't always, but I'll have to do a snail hunt. This one also had a bare patch in the middle. Maybe again it just needs some bulbs in amongst, because all the dwarf Aquilegias dwarf orchids. There's one of the wee Aquilegias seeding around in here, so maybe not so bad. Shouldn't rush. Good sign, never rush to change troughs. Down to the big one. This is the one I'm probably most happy with most of the year, because we've got the spring end up here, which has got a lot of spring interest. This is the same dianthus as I showed you in the trough over there. A really nice dark dianthus alpinus, and why I can't get it to flower over there I don't know, but really looking quite good. And then the foxgloves growing at the base of the tree take the scale up to bigger plants. Of course, much beloved by the bees. Really mighty spikes. Orchids out in the garden. The bulb house. Megan and Molly wondering what's going on. You good girls. So there we'll leave this short review, but just sort of bringing you up to date on what's happened on some of the troughs.